Willkommen till Dunkelheit Produktionen special at Indie 5 here on Rauta. Today we'll be going through some vinyl releases, all released by our friends at Dunkelheit. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first band here. This is, as you can see, pretty much of old school style, live burial forced back to live, which is the debut album of this British band. All in all, very nice feeling. I don't know, but I have a strong thrash metal vibe with this cover, which is kind of a true because this is sort of a death thrash release. So what we have here is vinyl. No reason really to unbox it and make fingerprints because it's obviously black vinyl. What we have here then is a bad picture, obviously, drinking some beers, a bar, some classic information. By classic, I mean the stuff in the 1990s, 1980s, you know, when the albums were pretty much done like that. And obviously some lyrics here. So, live burial, death thrash, very aggressive, very intense, very chaotic at some points even, but straight to the point. This is not music for non-extreme metal lovers. This is not music that is, you know, like made to sound sweet and nice and all that stuff, but kind of like intense, vicious, almost like live studio recording, like early Slayer stuff, you know. The sound is very much like live recording, that is. It's not very it's not too good, let's put it this way, in production, and it's kind of chaotic, which then again resolves or continues with its, you know, mastering and mixing. That it's a little bit chaotic out there, but it's, I mean, it's so intense, it's aggressive and straight in your face. So all in all, I could say this is some kind of a or let's say modern way of creating classic thrash death metal stuff. Pretty good in that. Unless you're allergic to death thrash or thrash metal in general, I think you should give this one a go. Nicely done, one of the better of Dunkelheit releases. Then we are not gonna go too far in style, but gonna go in total different direction. If that was from Great Britain, next one we go to Indonesia. What we have here is an album, once again, like I said, vinyls here. This is Opus Death by a band called Exhumation, two-man band from Indonesia. And what a fine looking vinyl we have here. You know, look at these graphics here, look at these images. And then the other side of the vinyl, pretty damn solid cover art if you ask me. And obviously the vinyl here, this comes also with a piece of an art, which also has these lyrics, rather small font. And I was claiming this is two-man band, it's actually a three-man band. Somehow I remember incorrectly or had wrong information. And this comes also with a poster. So those of you who are fan of this kind of brutality, there you have it, to put on your, I don't know, rehearsal room wall or something. So this is more towards classic death metal. If live burial was kind of a death thrash hybrid, this is very much in the same intensity, aggressiveness, violence and all that stuff, in your face, like pounding, no apologies made, just, you know, tapping into the primal energy and creating this kind of enormous power, energy, and, you know, the feeling of violence all over. It's not one of those most technical bands, it's not most better sounding bands, but it's very, very old school in so many ways. Vocals are maybe too much into black metal-ish direction. They're more screamy than pure growling, and you might sense these trashy things there as well, which are of course common in old school death metal, but I would still call it just death metal, not death trash. So I mean, if you're not allergic to early Cannibal Corpse, that is debut album, or same goes for Morbid Angel and other, you know, classics, then you are already familiar with death metal with trash influence means. So there you have it. I strongly recommend giving it a shot. One of the better releases as well. Then we have a 7-inch by Grimoire, the Occulte, and Mirthless. Mirthless is from Peru, and Grimoire the Occulte is a band from Germany. So two bands from different parts of the world, two songs, mostly about 7 minutes and 10 some, on a classic split 7-inch format. Here we have information, cardboard, not some cheap ass paper, but nice quality paper here, cardboard here, with some information and band imagery. Both bands here featured. And then we have obviously this 7-inch, which you can see is just pretty casual, black with white text and all that stuff. Now this is a more tricky one, considering that Grimoire the Occulte is more like slow-paced, dark death metal. Some would say it's doom death, and I wouldn't say it's totally wrong, but I wouldn't call it maybe doom death. It's just death metal with slow pace and very ominous feeling. Kind of getting there, and it's almost like they're like track and an outro, because it kind of changes throughout the course with kind of this electric acoustic guitar, which then again is a nice creation, nice idea. But the song itself, as an individual track, doesn't really fly. I mean, you would have to listen to like a whole album or something. This is like a promise of something nice to happen, which doesn't with this recording anyway, because it's only one song. The better part of this release, by the way. Now, Mirthless is trickier even, because it's kind of a doomy, but there are some black metalist type, like how the screaming vocals are done, and there are also faster parts, which are then again away from being pure doom. But then again, there are also guitar riffs which are, in my opinion, like old school heavy metal. So it's like flirting with different styles, and in a way it doesn't really make much of a sense. It's not a bad track, but it's a really mediocre one. And that combined with really mediocre production, that is kind of a weak sound, not sloppy, but kind of would demand more power. It doesn't really support the music that well. So this is a nice business card of a release, showing the sides of both bands, but it's not really the best possible 7-inch out there, but worth checking out if you're looking for new bands or collecting 7-inch split releases. Our next band is a cult act to its very name, I could say, because this one is a band that started already in the 80s and kind of finished its career back in the 90s. Being one of the bands, I think first bands in coming from Asian countries. This one is from Malaysia, and being one of the black metal bands that came out already in the early 90s, this one is a real rarity. It's one Nebiras, which is here on as a kind of a reissue vinyl, as you can see, and one side and only. This one is pretty neat. Mini LP, and obviously we have the covers here as well, which are very, very good looking. The Great Rites Mini LP in gatefold format from 1998. So this one is way older band that most of the Norwegian names coming from the 90s, so make no mistake. Oh, by the way, here's the track list, obviously, which I forgot to show you. So this is some really old school stuff in a way, not old school as in the 80s, but nevertheless, considering that this band started already in the 80s, 1989 or something like that, and used the word name Necrofist before changing to Nebiras in 1981. Now, music-wise, this is very, very kind of a between the first and second wave, kind of a transition phase, if you will, because there are lots of arch-gothish like of death black hybrid in the music. It's nowadays kind of feels a little bit distant and kind of old school and not very well done. It's kind of like a demo level material. Not very good in the terms of production or songwriting and all that stuff. But like I said, now we have to understand this is really old material coming from early 90s, even though it was released later on. So this is more a kind of a cult classic reissue rather than anything else. If you have, you know, like forgotten this band or you never encountered it before, it's no shame because I mean this is kind of a name that you had to be deep in the underground already in the early 90s to know bands such as this. It seems like Fenris of Darkthrone was kind of paying the homage to this band already in the early 90s, but nevertheless it's still one of those bands that is just so easy to miss. Now this is not very good an album, it's kind of a mediocre in the terms of music, but it's still very very cool to see releases like this getting released as a reissue of anything else. So definitely worth checking out, even if it's not that good music wise. Our last stop is also very far from the Western countries. We go to India with a band known as Kapala, which has been there only a couple of years. I think 2017 was their first year. And once again, this is a very, very cool looking mini LP as well on vinyl format. One-sided and all that stuff. Very nice looking covers here as well. I'll just unbox a little bit to show you. Very simple in design. This is called Infest Cesspool with about some 18-19 minutes of music, which is very, very violent, very aggressive, and unfortunately very poorly executed when it comes to production. It's all very, very noisy. It's one of those albums that I don't think should be released in the first place. It comes with a poster, which is kind of cool if you like the band, but to be honest, this is very, very marginal audience material. It's kind of a shame that this good looking a release is there with such a bad music. I mean, it's just one of those kind of a death grind black kind of hybrids, very fast, but it all gets very messy because the production is just kind of noisy. It's like you have to really, really focus listening to the songs even to figure out how the riffs actually go. And to be honest, once you do that, it's not like rewarding. It's like, okay, very mediocre riffs, and that's it. There are some kind of a Crowley, grunting vocals, which are like, okay, I've heard a million times, but better. And the songs are like, yeah, I think I've heard this one before. Better riffs and all that stuff. So this is like crappy production with some really mediocre material. It's like waste of time if you ask me. Sorry for my friends at Dunkelheit. I mean, it's a label that is great label doing good looking releases. But when they're putting out music such as this, I feel kind of sorry for them. And sorry for the audience, which is just buying blindly releases such as Kapala or Bosk, which I reviewed in one of the earlier videos. But then again, like we had in the beginning of this episode, there are some good quality ones. So always, I advise, always just check out those links. Do the Bandcamp research and it will reward you. I can pretty much guarantee you that it will save your time and you know what to buy. And if you are one of the marginal cases who actually like this listening to sound samples on Bandcamp will be rewarding as well. Anyway, looking forward to your comments. See you soon with more Rauta reviews coming your way.